Yeah, you got it, but they're not. Most of the politicians are cowardly. In the terms of the dynamics, I'm now speaking as somebody who's a political psychiatrist and treated many of them. They're very insecure, very cowardly. They have the same dynamics of movie stars and actresses. They want to say to you, love me, love me. I want more and more and more affection. They cannot perform. They cannot produce. They have no capability to finish anything that they've started. They've never been held accountable. It is not an accident. For the past 3 presidents, we have had people who've never had a mortgage, who have never been able to have a job. Clinton left the White House, said, oh, poor me, I have no money. A year later, he's $100 million supporting Dubai, bringing in a port, while Hillary Clinton comes in and say, oh, no, we shouldn't have a port. George Bush Jr. says, I'm going to go to Texas and start a oil company. Unfortunately, his father started when it had a hand it in, and he screwed that one up. Now you have an organizer in the ghettos of Chicago who has done nothing, absolutely nothing, has never really held a job, has never been, perhaps he's given a few lectures as a professor. God only knows he was, at Harvard, and everybody thinks that's a great position. And somehow, mysteriously, from the most crooked city in this country, Chicago, we get a president. How is that possible? With Rami Emanuel, who has a master's degree in ballet. Now, that is really impressive to me.
And we know what that really means. He has a master's degree in...
Chief of staff for a man who's never been in the presidency, and it really was shocking. And then he talks about... And then under Bush Jr., we have a major crisis in the banking system. He doesn't know what to do. He brings in Paulson, who had no idea what he was doing, because I was a banker, by the way. One of my positions was as managing director of investment bank, taking it down for 6 months and left Wall Street. It was so disgusting. And I knew Paulson had no idea. And when I talked to the congressman, I said, listen, guys, you don't have a banker there. They have no idea what they're doing. Lo and behold, that whole thing unfolded, and now we have such a crippled banking...
Well, sir, you like Petraeus, and I respect that, but it was also Henry Paulson repeatedly did collapse in closed sessions 2 different days. Petraeus collapsed. What's all this collapsing business?
Basically, I don't know about Paulson collapse. Petraeus, it's public. He has cancer of the prostate. That's not classified.
Oh, really? Oh, so he's been having...
He is not a well man. He's also a man who overreaches. But Paulson, I would not say is the hero of this country.
No, I understand. I understand working too hard and then collapsing.
No, Petraeus, I think, has had an illness which was not classified. He has had cancer of the prostate. I assume he's better, but he's worked very hard. But the issue with Paulson is that man was incompetent. He's an investment banker. He has nothing to do with cash flow, fiscal policy. Then you had Greenspan, who told you he was doing a wonderful job, and he put the accelerator to the pedal, and boy, we went right over the abyss. And then he comes back and says, oh, no, that was a minor incident. Derivatives were really very effective.
Let me throw a few more questions in for you, and then we'll take a few calls. This is unbelievable, Dr. Pieczenik, StevePieczenik.com. The anthrax attacks, they said it was brewed in a bathtub. Later they admitted super U.S. weapons grade, miniaturized, hundreds of millions of dollars of equipment needed. What was the anthrax attack?
I really don't know. That one I have to bow out. I don't know, what that was about, but,
What's your intel on Obama and why they've been suppressing so many of his records? What are you picking up on that?
You know what? At this particular point in time, I think it's best that your audience figure out what the history of Obama was in Chicago. I really don't want to get into the birthing thing. I think that's been discussed. But there are other issues, and I think it's best that this country do its own homework. You have a very intelligent audience, and I think they should find out about themselves. What he did in Chicago, what's his relationship to Rami Emanuel, why was Rami Emanuel brought in, and why is he now mayor of Chicago? Masters in ballet, who had no other profession.
All right, we got it. So it looks like Emanuel's blackmailing Obama somehow with the fact that they like to...
I didn't say that. I just want your audience to do their due diligence as you have. I want them to follow you in what you said, and that is to be educated, self-educated, and informed.
Well, we know all about male ballet dancers. We'll just leave it at that. Statistically,
well, it's not a ballet dancer. This is a master in ballet dance. so it's beyond a ballet dance.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are occasional black sheep who are male ballet dancers.
I don't know about that. All I know is his brother, one brother's an agent in Hollywood, and his other brother, quote, is a physician at the NIH.
Well, what about their family connections to Irgun in Israel?
His father was in the Irgun Feiluni. That is true. His father was a pediatrician and was part of a terrorist gang. He himself, I think, served in the IDF for a period of time.
Unbelievable, sir. In the last 12 minutes we have, let's take some phone calls. I'll try to tomorrow take more calls, folks, but this has been unbelievable. Anything else about the inside job that was 9/11? I mean, you're saying you've talked to high-level U.S. government officials.
The inside job is that nobody has been held accountable. Tenet should never have received an award. He should have been put on trial. Bush should have been put on trial. Cheney should be put on trial, as Rumsfeld. Instead, they all received books. Condoleezza should be put on trial and investigated under perjury, on charges of perjury and war crime. It's as simple as that.
By the way, ABC News did report that
people, Elliot Abrams, you've got Wolfowitz out there, and you've got a lot of potential criminals. If this country doesn't come to its resolution, instead of creating this nonsense that we have a war and we have heroes and we do have victims, we have to stop this. Otherwise, we can't go forward.
Well, it was in ABC News that top military brass a week before canceled their September 11th flight to New York. Mayor Willie Brown, San Francisco Chronicle, this was confirmed, called Condoleezza. No, she called him and said, don't fly to New York. I mean, these guys are just red-handed caught, then lying about never hearing chatter about flying planes into buildings, when on record they ordered FBI agents nationwide who were on the trail of the legend they were building, the fake decoy history, and they were and they demoted or fired those agents and gave record bonuses to the FBI bosses who blocked the FBI trying to stop the attacks. I mean, and it goes on and on and on and on.
You know, it's time, again, that I say we have our own Tahrir Square. The young kids of Egypt went forth and did what they did. America needs a second revolution. That second revolution has to entail the peaceful means by which we can get rid of this type of capital cronyism, corruption, and criminal activity. It's, again, we were born of a revolution, a real revolution. We fought England twice, not once, but twice. And we need to now understand that our government has no longer served the people, for the people, by the people. And that's why I came back on your show. I was so disgusted to hear this nonsense about Osama bin Laden being resurrected and that they had shot him unless they attacked a mortuary. I have no idea what this nonsense was. But the point is, it underlied another cancerous administration with lies, deceits, betrayal, including the Republicans and Democrats and the legislation. I'm not, a right-winger. I'm not a conspiracist. I trained at Harvard, MIT. I've been under 5 presidencies. So no matter what the press tells you, no matter what they'll say, Alex Jones had the courage enough to put me on the air, and I had the gall enough to go on the air, which is, by the way, not unusual for me, because I told some presidents to leave, go screw yourself, but because I save lives. My job isn't to take down countries only, it's to save hostages. I saved many hundreds of hostages' lives. Now, I was so disgusted, I went back on your show to thank you for allowing me to address your incredible public.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Pieczenik.
For that moment that say, this is enough. And that's all I want to say.
Wow. Well, let's jam some calls in here. This is an unbelievable interview, ladies and gentlemen. And it's all of our job to get this interview on the podcast and the YouTubes and the audio of it out to everybody. Let's talk to Alex in Michigan. You're on the air, Alex. Go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Jones and Dr. Pieczenik. My question for you, Doctor, is that when we deal with this, as you aptly put, this nonsense with Osama bin Laden allegedly being captured and killed, if this operation was allegedly authorized and carried out a couple of weeks ago in April, so why did Obama wait that long a time and then announce this, out of all places, Sunday night at 10:30? And my second part of the question to that is, if we go back a week ago, after bin Laden would have supposedly been killed, we see the shuffle with Panetta and Petraeus into the Defense Department and CIA. What does all of this mean? What is the purpose of waiting?
It's a very good question. The timing, I can speculate. Basically, they did it so late so that nobody could comment on it. Reason for the timing, and now at this particular point in time, is Gates is leaving. And Panetta had to establish some credibility where he had none before. The Pakistanis were extremely angry that he had killed many civilians, which he had. Also, if you remember correctly, 2 years ago, he had made a major mess where CIA operatives were killed because there was no clearance. Secondly, you have to remember now, the CIA is not the CIA of the Cold War or the brave people I worked with in the 80s and 90s. This is a very different CIA now. 80% of the CIA right now are contract employees. Listen to what I'm saying. That means they're mercenaries. We have primarily mercenaries underneath Panetta. Panetta is not an intel operative. He's basically, I've got to give him his credit, he's a budget man. And the reason they're moving him to the state of the Defense Department now is Gates is leaving, because Gates was an excellent Secretary of Defense.
But don't mercenaries open you up to total infiltration?
Oh, yeah, because you don't know who they're loyal to. Only one thing, the dollar. The American public has to understand we have primarily mercenaries in most of what we have in contract offices. When they say we have contractees, we have mercenaries. Many of our troops are very disgusted with that, because I've got a soldier who makes $35,000, and next to him I have the same man making $250,000 with no taxes whatsoever and no restrictions in terms of...
Yeah, he has immunity. Alex, I appreciate your...
Basic, Alex, what I'm saying to you is the timing had to do with Gates leaving, Panetta having been switched into the Secretary of Defense, although I suspect he didn't really want to be SecDef. He wanted to remain as DCI, Director of the CIA, and Petraeus is heading up the CIA, which is unusual for a general because he ran the Special Forces units and CENTCOM, and he ran much of the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, and he knows the drones, and he knows the so-called...
We've got to jump here.
So that's why he moved.
Sure, and I agree with you. 10 o'clock at night, so the papers were already lined up to not question, to then have total control of the message the next morning, to control the entire week with the announcement, and the whole thing was scripted. Let's talk to Adrian. Oh, yeah. You agree, Dr. Pieczenik?
I'm sorry?
No, I mean, you said something?
I'm sorry, did you say... No, I didn't say anything.
Okay, Adrian in Missouri, you're on the air.
Hi, Doctor. My question is, after all of this shenanigans is going on with Osama being dead and everything, and Obama trying to get reelected, after all of this is done, after that announcement in 2012 that he has won the presidency again or whatever, how do you think America is going to react? You know what I'm saying? Like, what his approval rating is going to be, and if they stoop so low again, how will he try to get America back on board? What
that's an excellent question, Adrian. I really think about it, and I don't know the answer, but this is what I would speculate. Our unemployment is still remaining high. We have had capital investments, but we're not doing it into major projects like railroads, which we need, bridges that have to be reconstructed, houses that have to go. We need to get that unemployment, 10 to 19 million people, back on the job. He will get reelected, and he will probably do whatever he needs to do, which is an agenda that is not clear at this point. But he will continue to push through Obamacare, which will be a disaster for our health program. Unemployment will probably remain high. And he will keep the military positioned in the areas where we don't need it, and basically our capital cronyism will continue. But I warn of two things. The food prices and gas prices will continue to rise. Food prices have risen 35% because we decreased the value of the dollar. The commodity prices went up. But, Adrian, it's an excellent question. The sheep does not change his color. I mean, basically, he's going to be what he's always been. He's going to accommodate to the moment and to the interests of the people for whom he works, which is not the United States of America. The banking, primarily in Wall Street and the transnational corporations. But it's an excellent question. I can't really further detail things out other than the fact that we're headed for more and more economic crisis.
All right.
If we default on our debt, we are in major, major problem.